AI is just obviously on the scene, new, and it's something that I've been working with for the past year with instruction. And everybody right away said, oh, they're cheating. Oh, they're going to use it to do this. Oh, it's going to take over jobs. It's not going to take over jobs, but if we don't teach people, kids, parents, humans how to use it appropriately, effectively, responsibly, someone else that's using it might take that job. So we still need humans.
Hey guys, welcome to Tapping In, and today's subject is all about our education, how we can start to bring in our purpose, our connection, and just our belief in ourselves. And that's why we brought on Dr. Brandee Ramirez with us today, because she is an incredible educator. She really helps to bring the inspiration and the potential in all of her students. And today she's going to share her tips and techniques that have helped her do this. Welcome, Brandi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. So one thing about your work that I absolutely love is I've seen you light your students up. Like you really charge them with this inner belief. How do you do that? Like, how do you keep your energy so pumped around your students and bring this energy out in them?
Well, I think it starts with having a connection with them and building that trust from early on, letting them know that I'm not there to tell them things, but to actually bring it out of them. And we're partners when it comes to our learning, and we're partners when it comes to all kinds of educational things. So we work together versus me telling them what to do, and actually finding what it is that drives them and what they're passionate about.
And one thing I love too is you've worked with kids from kindergarten all the way up to like high school. How does that change? Like when you're inspiring, say, someone in kindergarten to inspiring somebody that's going to graduate.
Yeah. I think the beauty of learning is it doesn't change with our age. But what does change is all of the exterior things around kids. And so when they're younger, they come in eager and excited to learn. And then as they grow, it really shifts and changes because of a lot of external things that are going on in their lives. But yet when I'm working with students from kindergarten to 12th grade, they still all want to have trust. They want someone to believe in them, and they need to believe in themselves, and they want connections. It doesn't matter if they're their first day of kindergarten and they're crying at the door, or they're a senior in high school that's maybe struggling and not able to complete all their credits, but they still need that cheerleader all along the way. They still need someone who believes in them, someone who they can trust, and then also someone who they have those connections with. And that's something that has always driven my practice, the way I teach, and the way I learn.
Mm-hmm. So as a parent, are those the keys that I should focus on at home?
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier said than done, as I have 6 teenagers combined at my house. And yes, I think you have to build those connections on the everyday things, the little things. Instead of being frustrated that you didn't all get to sit down at the table for dinner tonight, be thankful for the one, 10-minute conversation you have as they're walking out the door or on the ride somewhere. Focus less on the big things and all of the little things along the way.
Yeah, it's true. I love that. And one thing I think that's amazing with you is because you've seen the potential in kids, I know that you put together a course helping kids become entrepreneurs. How did that come about?
Well, I've always felt like I'm a little bit of an entrepreneur, maybe not with venture capitalists backing me, but when it comes to education, I have taught so many different things, and I've done so many different things in my career that I started to see that in kids. And students came to me last year, and they said, I was working at a high school, and they said, I want to learn more about what it takes to start a business. And I thought, okay, so what does that look like? Whether I've started one or not, what kind of mindset, what kind of support do these kids need? And so we started talking about, to be an entrepreneur, you have to take risks, But with those risks, you have to have trust and a connection and really believing in yourselves and in yourself. And so I think when these students came to me and said, what would that look like? We decided to start a club. Within that club, we then created some activities and lessons, and then we started connecting with local industries, like how did you start your business? How did you start your business? And we really had a lot of fun with it, but it gave them this safe space to explore it, where it wasn't a grade. They weren't getting a grade on it, and they wanted to show up. They wanted to learn. A couple of the students even really wanted to help their parents start a business, and they didn't know what that looked like or where to start. And so from those students, I then created this online course that gives other students the opportunity to connect with the real world, not just write an essay, turn it in, get a grade, create a LinkedIn profile in the entrepreneur course, like something that's real, that connects. Like, why would I need this?
They gave them the why. Because again, so many kids are like, why am I learning this?
Yes.
And the fact that you're not grading them and you're getting them more curious about the real world, I think really helps you to also do the work without feeling like they're being judged. Like, can we make it about learning again?
About them and about what do they, why is this important to them, and where will this matter as they go forward in life?
That's fantastic. Now, one thing I love about my work is I'm always looking, not always looking, but it's about finding blocked programs within a person's energy field, blocked beliefs. Did you find a certain pattern come up with kids that maybe didn't want to take this leap, or was there something that was preventing them, whether it was in the regular class or becoming an entrepreneur, that you're like, oh, this is a common, right?
Yeah, I think the belief in oneself is a huge barrier for kids, because like I said, as they come in eager to learn in the beginning, and they slowly, as they get grades on something, or maybe they start to think, oh, I'm not good at this, or I'm not good at that. And it might be compounded with external factors, social media, friends, and
exactly.
And so I think you have to, not only do students have to believe in themselves, but they need other people around them to believe in them as well. And I think that if I don't believe in myself, how can I help someone else believe in themselves?
That's such a great tip. So I think even as parents, the first step is, how can I start to believe in me more? How can I release these limitations? How can I be less critical of myself, right? Because I can't show my kid like, hey, I'm self-conscious about the way I look, or I don't like the way clothes fit me, or where I live, and I'm teaching that. Right. How do I start those steps within me as parents?
As parents too, right? Like, what, instead of, well, why didn't you do X, Y, and Z? First look at, well, look, you did these things great, but what's something that we can work on? And putting it in their hands. Like, what do you think? Reflecting. Like, what do you think maybe you need to work on? And it's okay, but like, how can I help you? How can your teacher help you? How can certain different programs and software, what can we do to help you? But it doesn't make you less than. You're still you, and you still have so much potential to, like, don't look at the negative first. What's the positive? Okay, we're here. This is the thing, all the things that you're doing well, that you're great at, that you are, on point, but like, what's this,
Is this a place where maybe AI can also help us? Like, as a parent, I want to believe in my kid. I want to help them, but I'm a little bit like, even myself, I'm with the ADD. It's like somebody trying to help you with math homework. And I'm just like, like, I want to be your cheerleader, but I'm like, I have no idea what you're doing. Like,
AI is just obviously on the scene, new, and it's something that I've been working with for the past year, with instruction. And everybody right away said, oh, they're cheating. Oh, they're going to use it to do this. Oh, it's going to take over jobs. It's not going to take over jobs, but if we don't teach people, kids, parents, humans, how to use it appropriately, effectively, responsibly, someone else that's using it might take that job. So we still need humans. That's not going anywhere. But AI, things such as generative AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, any of those products, can really be a thought partner. So parents often like, how can I help my kid? How can I help my student? It can be something that you have a tutor in your pocket, you have an assistant in your pocket, you have a thought partner. And so it can be extremely, extremely
helpful.
Yeah.
I love it when we use it for that, right? Because it's like she'll have a question, my daughter in biology or something, and we both kind of are like,
yeah, no.
Hi. So we're like, and I'll just say to chat, like, can you explain this to me? Like, I'm a 10-year-old.
That's, yes.
Right? Can you explain this to me? Like, I'm not all, I am hungover.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Give me a visual. Explain it to me another way.
Yes. Break this down. I use it all the time when I get huge emails, and I'll say, can you categorize this and tell me what this person is asking me to do?
Yeah.
Because, like it just becomes, it's a lot at times. And so it's the same for kids.
And it has no judgment. Like, that's one thing I love about working with chat, because it's like, again, you can get a really complicated subject, and I feel like I can ask you 10 times and there's no feeling of like, sorry,
no, right?
Just don't get it, or judgment.
Right.
There's
what
no
do you
emotion.
mean you're asking me a third
10 times? Maybe you should pay for the plus.
Exactly.
Do we need to give you pictures, sister?
Right, I know, right?
But again, and it shows me that if we could learn and feel safe and have that encouragement, and it's kind of like tiptoeing, like I may need 10 little steps and somebody may get it in one big one.
Right.
And
and it's teaching them it's teaching all of us how to ask it. Like, what's our input? How are we, it's okay if you have to ask it 17 times. It will keep reiterating and it will adjust, and you'll eventually get what you need. Of course, we have to be careful because we need to, check things and make sure our sources are correct, but it is definitely a wonderful tool to help students learn.
What's a tip that you would give a teacher to make their students feel like they're being heard or kind of being seen? Is there a tip that maybe...
there's a very basic thing that we do oftentimes with students, and that is where you give a fist bump to every single kid that walks in the door.
Kind of cool.
Right? Like, hello, good morning, how are you? I added something onto that last year where I would do that. I would look each other in the eye and how are you? What's going on? But then I also had a Google form that they scanned a QR code, and it was one simple question. It was also to take attendance and timestamp, make sure they were going to school.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, it was, how are you today? And I could immediately gauge just by looking at their responses, while they were unpacking and getting situated. I could gauge where is this room at? And if they were tired, if they were then I would go to that student and say, hey, what's going on the side?
That's really cool.
Making that connection again and letting them know that I'm there for them and that they can trust me, and that, how can I help? How can I be of service?
If you were to give one seed of advice to a parent to kind of help them with a kid that maybe is having a hard time in school and friends and just feeling overwhelmed in life, what would that seed be?
I used to do dessert and dialogue because students
and kids.
My children, my own children at home. Yes. So we do this activity called dessert and dialogue. And it's where not everyone could be together for dinner, but almost everyone was home later in the evening and always, scrounging around for some sort of sweet treat. And so I said, okay, well, we're all going to meet at the table, and that's where we're going to share out something from our day. We talk about what was a success, what was a challenge, and who was someone you helped. And those are our three kind of, whether we can do it at dinner or dessert and dialogue, but connecting with them. And if 5 days in a row, there's nothing that was successful for them, that's something you need to dive a little bit deeper into, checking in with your with your child.
Yeah. They're both the same.
But right. But honestly, just again, having those little conversations along the way, versus when they get in trouble.
Right, that's when you talk to them.
Then you talk to them. No, we should be talking all along the way. And I'm not saying I have all the answers and everything my kids do is amazing.
That's another episode.
But I do think you just have to listen. You have to listen. You have to trust, be present, believe in them. But that also comes from you. Like, do we believe in ourselves?
I love the way you said, who did you help today? Because I feel as though if they didn't help somebody, then in their mind, they're still looking for it, even the next day.
Right.
And then you look for opportunities of where you can be at service. And again, what I love about that is it gets them out of their own head, as opposed to like, just how are you doing? What's something good that you. Because then again, that could bring out the critic, right? Well, at least for myself, like, oh, I didn't do anything good for myself. But if I think of being of service, then again, I'm like, oh, I'm going to help this lady, you know,
and
with a door.
Right. I was just going to say, it's as simple as that. Like, okay, I didn't do any, I'm like, you didn't help anyone today. And then it's like, oh, well, I did give someone a pencil or something, or, you know, but I'm like, that's helping.
Yeah.
They didn't have, you gave, and there you are.
And it gets that frequency again going. It gets you out of your head, and then feeling good about giving. And at the same time, when somebody gives to you, feeling good about the receiving, right? Allowing that flow to kind of go back and forth. I love that.
And it's funny because what was a success today? What was a challenge? And what was someone you helped? Or who was someone you helped? And it is funny because they're like, I wouldn't change anything about today. And I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, but then, so and every day is different.
Yeah. And I know it was the other one too. It's like, tell me 3 people that love you, 3 people that you love, and then 3 things that you saw today that you thought were beautiful.
Oh, I like that too.
But again, because like, if you don't have an answer and you have to say something new the next day, then you scan, right, for something beautiful, because you know that you're going to be asked that question later. So you're looking for it. And the other thing I found interesting is if I was in a bad mood or I felt like nobody loves me or like whatever, like you kind of go into that hands up, and you have to do that exercise. It's almost like you're opening up a doorway. It's just like, well, that voice isn't necessarily telling you the truth. You know, there are people that love you, and you just start to feel it kind of melt your heart a little bit, like, well, I guess my mom loves me. You know? It's like you start making up things, but again, it makes you feel so warm and fuzzy. And I could see how doing that with your kids, right? Your conversations aren't always about, you know, homework. Did you do your homework?
Right. How are your grades? And I think too, setting up expectations in general just allow for, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's when I'm teaching, and whether it's in my course online, or whether it's at home with my kids, you have to have some sort of expectations. And I don't mean rules, but expectations, and setting those together. You know, this, if this happens, then this is what, you know, is the effect, or the, you know, some people say consequence, whatever, but more about expectations. And where are we at as a family? What are we value? What, you know, and so I think too, setting up expectations, it allows for a lot less gray.
It's true. And you're keeping the frequency up. Like, come on, like, I get that we have emotions and it goes up and down, but like your emotional set point, let's kind of keep it up here. One thing I try to do too, and I don't know if it always works, but to give yourself or give my kids a different perspective, I say to them, if you were watching yourself in a TV show or in a movie, what would you think about that character? So when I see myself, let's just say again, having a pity party or is in the corner, I know if I was watching this show, I'd be like, what a schmuck. Like, snap out of it. Like, what are you doing, right? Or like, you want to see the person be the hero, or come on, step into your truth. Like, why are you denying? It's like the superhero denying their powers. You're like, what are you doing? You're not serving anybody. So just to give yourself a different perspective of like, well, then what inside of me do I need to change so that I can be the hero of my story? I don't want to be the person that keeps walking down that dark, lonely road, kicking the can. Right. What can I do different? How do I face my darkness, or that character's darkness, right?
That's
and have
good.
fun
I like
with
that.
it. So have you had any students where you felt like they were going through a really hard time and maybe, you know, nobody believed in them and, you know, something shifted? Like,
yes. I actually, in particular, I had a student who last year was really struggling. Academically, socially, I taught him when he was a middle schooler, and so I knew him then. And then now as a senior, I was teaching him, and he wasn't showing up to my first period class, and I reached out, what's going on, and he came in and he talked to me, and he said, I just don't, I'm sad. I have all of these detention hours that I have to make up, and if I don't make them up, I won't graduate, which was 4 months away. And it broke my heart because he looked so deflated, and he just, no one cares if I'm here, if I'm not here. And I said, well, I care. And so you need to be here because you are going to graduate. And he said, I don't know how. I said, let's put a plan together. Let's set some expectations. Let's talk about how you're going to get there. And then we're going to do it. And so we decided to have where every time he would come to school, he had to check in with me in the morning and check out with me in the afternoon and talk to me a little bit about how his day was. But also for all of those hours, he would double those hours, which would then get him to the point of where he needed to be.
Right.
And each week it got, he was on time. Sometimes he was early. Sometimes he would come in at lunch and sit with me. And we would just talk about the things he loved and the classes he was taking and what he was going to do after he graduated.
Right.
So it has to start with maybe someone else, and then it builds and builds. And so he did. He graduated. He walked. He is doing very well. And it's not because of me, but it's just because of that ability for him to see that someone cared.
Yeah,
that
you created a space for him.
Yeah.
And reflected it back, his beauty in a sense, and his powers.
And he's so smart and so just an amazing human being. And I'm happy. It felt great to be a part of that, but it wasn't why I was doing it. And it also was kind of a culmination from teaching kindergartners who are crying at the door, not wanting to leave their moms, to now seniors who are a little bit fearful of what comes next. And so that journey of teaching all of those grades and then seeing, where they're at and how when they're afraid and to enter, but also afraid to leave.
So sweet, right? Because you get to watch it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel very blessed to have that opportunity to teach.
Yeah, I think that's so magical. And again, reinforcing that it's belief. I believe in you. I see you. I see the potential. And if we could just keep that energy going for all of us, that, I wish school had more of that.
I know.
As opposed to constantly measuring you, because so many kids shut down because we all think and learn so differently, and we just want to play. And if we just made school a little bit more playful, where you can explore and learn,
right?
Who am I?
Right.
I don't even know who I am. I'm being told right from the beginning how to be, how to sit.
And then the comparison with others, that's not healthy.
Right. That shattered me completely. Yeah. I learned, it's I finished school and then I started learning at my own pace and then picking out books, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. And for the first time wanting to go to the library or the bookstore. But that was just, I remember when I was first with my husband, that if you wanted to go to a bookstore, I was just like,
no, I have to
way.
Right? I have to be told what I'm reading and why I'm reading it.
And it's just a place that makes me feel bad about me.
Right.
Because I don't get it. I can't retain the information. It bounces off my head. But again, when you're being taught something that doesn't inspire you, I don't care. If you were to teach me about plumbing right now, I'd be like, whatever. And then you want to test me on it, I'd be like, who cares? I'd be the kid that's like, why? Why do I have to know this? Why do I have to know this?
Which is so important, because they should be asking that, why do I have, what is this, how is this going to be of service in my life in the future? And I think that's, again, what led me to the course, is showing them that this particular learning can make that connection to the real world. And that's extremely important.
And you make it fun.
Yeah,
that's one thing I love about your course. You make it fun, and you combine the mindfulness with the education, and you make them curious about their future, as opposed to, oh my gosh, this is another thing I have to do. Right. And you also set kids up with the business that they want to be a part of. So not only do you do a course, but you have all these connections where they can go and actually explore, do I like working in production? Do I
Right,
like, you know, teaching, graphic design, whatever it is? And you give them that opportunity to be safe and to feel like it's okay to learn through that contrast, as opposed to, I better get this right. This is costing so much money. I have the pressure again of my family. And, you know, it's like.
It is. And it's exhausting for kids and for parents. We just went through last year. I have a freshman in college, and, you know, she did everything right. And it was still, there was, at the end of the day, there was a lot of heartbreak over where she wanted to go to college and where she didn't get in. And that was very eye-opening, because I thought, your grades don't tell you your worth.
I hate that.
Yeah. I mean, I understand it's the system, and I'm a part of it because I'm in education, but that doesn't tell you your worth. And I think that's something we have to remember too, because even some of these kids who have worked their butts off, you know, with GPAs and grades and every AP class, they might not get into their dream school. But then we say too, like, well, then that just wasn't where you were supposed to be.
Right.
Like, and she loves where she's at now.
I love that.
But it wasn't her top choice. But at the end of the day, she is like thriving and enjoying it and loving it and happy. And that's all we want to, right? Is
The universe always has your back.
It does.
The universe
It does.
always has
It
your
does.
back. And I also think that's such a great lesson for all of us, because so much of the time, everybody puts their self-worth to, where do I live? What do I have? What do I look like?
External.
External. And I remind myself too, that can always be taken away, right?
Yes.
And it really means nothing. Like, really, am I better because I've read all these books, or I have this? Like, some of the best, most genuine, brightest people I've met have absolutely nothing, have very little education, but they show up. They will be there to help you. They're as loving, as bright as can be, and with wanting, I don't want to say nothing in return, but they're just like incredible beings. And it's just like, you can't compare.
And you can't teach that. And you can't spend your, I agree.
No, that's good. That's good. Thank you so much, Brandee, for sharing all your incredible wisdom with us today.
Yes, thank you for having me. This has been very fun. And yes,
this was so fun. And I think the biggest message is, you guys, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, because you can do anything. And until next time, keep tapping in.
If you want more, please join our community at marisagrieco.com.